Okay, we are on, and this is our very first session of what we're calling the Devoted Pros Wedding Show. And we are bringing about this platform. As we have a platform for our engaged couples, we're bringing it about for our wedding pros. And my name's Jamie Rapavi, and I'm the owner of Devoted Columbus. And Dave with D&M DJ brought us this amazing idea that to kind of pull us all together, bring the vendors in as a community, and we can learn and grow and teach each other and really become stronger together. So I think that's the whole goal of this. And we're going to do it via Zoom to begin with. And we're going to have these every month. And we're looking at right now the third Wednesday of each month, probably about, for about 30 minutes from 4 to 4:30. We'll be putting this up on our Devoted Pros page, sharing it to our group, and bringing about a bunch of people, like whoever wants to join us can join us and participate in the conversation, raise their hand, ask questions, contribute, and we'll record these. We'll put it out on the internet. We'll share it with everybody. So we're keeping it small for this first one as we're testing this out. And I'm just going to have everybody kind of go around, introduce themselves, and we'll get started. So Dave, go ahead and go first.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm Dave with Dave Kurtz with D&M DJ Entertainment. I've basically been in the business for a very long time, but my company itself has been around since, since 2015. And we've been having a blast ever since. I can go on, but I'm going to pass the baton over to Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea Sargent, and I'm with Andrea's Occasions Event Planning, and I have been professionally planning for 8 years now.
Awesome.
And I'm Michelle Ritchie. I work for Devoted Columbus and Devoted Details. I am in charge of the wedding team. So wedding planners, my wedding day assistants, and I've been a planner for about 4 years.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, that's our team for us today. And we're going to get right into a topic, and I'm going to let Michelle kind of start that off.
Yeah, so one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing in our wedding community right now is how we treat each other. I mean, it's such a simple topic, right? So I feel like it's a really great start to kick off our educational series. As a community, we need to understand that all of our jobs are equal. Dave's job is not more important than my job as a planner. My job is not important than the baker or the photographer. We're all equal in our importance. And we all played a vital part in making the wedding day successful, or an event successful for that engaged couple. So even though we all may have different views and have been in business maybe 1 year or 20 years, and have different expectations, it's important for us all to keep that goal in mind. And I think we can all agree on that. Everybody's shaking their heads. So how can we make sure that the competition stays friendly and make sure we are more of a community and keep that stress level low and positivity high?
Excellent question. So Dave, what are your thoughts on some of that, and maybe how we can work, vendors can work better together?
Well, the interesting part about this is the fact that there are preconceived notions we all have. And I think we need to, what I call, empty the garbage can in our head of whatever those are. Just level the playing field, say straight up, I'm working with somebody new today. I may not know how they operate, but, start off, I think part of the cooperation comes in with the idea of not saying you're the DJ and you know what you're supposed to do and so forth. I think it should be more or less us understanding that you gotta, even if you meet somebody on the wedding day, I think it's important just to go up and say, this is what I've got for notes. What do you have? I'm so-and-so, and I'm happy to work with you, and, you know, kind of just go from there. So we're all on the same page. I think we're kind of victims of the system because of, like in my case, I've worked so long, I've got things in my head that I have dumped out as of late because I ought to make an assumption of what a day of coordinator is, or what a photographer is supposed to do, or what the cake person's supposed to do. Then how much of that is something I need to be aware of, you know, just all that stuff. And I think the cooperation comes from understanding the people that you're working with together through the day. And if somebody brings up, says it's not going as planned, don't get all flustered about it. Just go with the flow. And I think that's where I think that helps in the relationship. It's when you've got somebody that is, I think one idea is this: when I have a vendor, like let's say a photographer says they have to have it outside no matter what. Well, they may have to have it outside, but if it's raining and I put my computer outside, I can't do what I got to do. And it's sort of like, I think everybody has to look at what everybody's dealing with, of what makes things happen the way they need to. I mean, I could care less if you want to get married outside, but I'm not going to put my equipment outside because I don't want to get electrocuted. Or
So
how
just
they
more of that conversation. Like, I don't think we're having that conversation, us meaning collectively, our community is having that conversation with each other on the day of or before. And we have got to start thinking about exactly what you said, where each of us are at, where our minds are at, what we're thinking of, and helping bridge that gap together and problem solve together. Exactly.
Communication is key. I mean, that's the key to this whole thing. And I like the idea that, you know, if maybe you didn't have the time to review notes prior, but you do introduce yourself to the other vendor team because you are a team, you know, making that couple happy for the day, but you just do that quick review of, hey, this is what I've got on my agenda. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And then maybe you hear something like, oh, I didn't know that. Because how many of us have, I think every single one of us have been on the day and we're like, I never heard of that, because the bride and groom may have just came up with it and told one person and nobody else knows. And that could save our butts. It really could, just by quick communication with each other. It doesn't have to take out much time. And it, you know, maybe when to do that, like don't do it in the middle of somebody setting up. Maybe it's like a quick, like, hey, I would love to do a quick chat with you. I'm this person, and just to tell you what I've got on my agenda for the day. When you get a chance, let me know, or something like that too. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I completely agree. And I even take it a step further. Not only I like to introduce myself to like the main person, like if the DJ has an assistant, I'll introduce myself to both of them, and even catering staff too, not just the banquet manager, but also the rest of the staff, because you never know who has what information. With my assistants, I introduce them to everyone as well, because if I'm not available, then they're going to have the information that someone else might need.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, by us doing what we're all talking about, you bridge a gap that you didn't have before, and going into it humbly kind of thing. You know, we're all in it together and so forth. I mean, we hear it a lot, but you know, it's when you run into the person, that one person that tries to control everything, and they're being resistant to the idea that it's not their day. But you don't want to say that. You just want to say, we've got these things we got to get taken care of. You know, what am I going to do if a bride and groom comes up to me and says, we want to do a sunset photo? What am I going to do? Say no? I mean, you know, or if, you know, there's always that thing that you never know. It could be that one thing that, you know, maybe I need to go find the wedding planner or the coordinator or somebody. If we all have already shook hands and said, hey, how you doing? It makes it a lot easier for things to happen. But I agree definitely on all that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you know, and even to that point, I've done events where you'll have a vendor who is like, nope, my plan is the plan. You didn't talk to me before. Like, this is the plan I'm going with. And I think that has to stop. I mean, that makes it about you and not the client at that point. Obviously, there were different conversations prior to this day, and we just need to come together and come up with a plan. And if we need to address this with a point of contact on the day of, at least we're coming together all in one.
As a team. Like, and our couples might have crazy ideas that they want to throw at us on the event day. We're in the hospitality industry, so we're here to hopefully make it happen. We can't make everything happen, but maybe if there is something in question, that's when you do have the power of going to the team and saying, you know what, let me just see if I can make this happen for you. And you go back to your assistants, the DJ, the photographer, the venue, whatever it may be, to see how many no's and how many yeses you get, and then let them know, because we've had some wacky things, but we do always want to try to accommodate their wishes. It is their day and the things that they're going to remember. And I think if we just all keep that in mind, it all puts us towards the same goal. But yeah, we do need to, I hope that the people that would be watching this, that they're probably not the control freaks anyway. It's not a time to do that. The controlling people kind of are even our clients, and we even have to say, don't worry, relax, we've got it, we're going to make it happen, release control. And they have enough confidence in us to make it happen. But
I see sometimes too with what we deal with is sometimes we'll run into people that will use the term, well, this is what the bride and groom wants, that's what they told me. But I think the case in point, what you guys just brought up, is that's what they told you 6 months ago, or that's what they told you. We've just got to figure out what to do now, because obviously there's certain things in play here. It could be anything from what time the food has to come out, because what they've ordered will dry up or something crazy like that. I think it's a sense of, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's like, let's just, what makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, there's so many details that these couples are putting together, and they may have had a conversation with their DJ 2 weeks ago, but maybe their photographer was a month and a half ago. Things change in an instant. Decisions are made in an instant, and they may have decided one thing with their photographer, but then you as a DJ, Dave, said, you know what, I don't know if that works. Here's my professional opinion. And they're like, yeah, that's right. And then the photographer doesn't have the final update because they didn't think to go back and update them on it. So we all have to remember that. We have to remember that. I mean, unless we're all sitting in a room together listening to all of the details, right. We're never going to be on the same page until we're actually there and we form that impromptu wedding day team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, Michelle, you said it best. Your wedding day team. That's what we all are. We're a team working together, having the same end goal to make the day go as smoothly, as perfectly as possible. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, those are good. What about how do we want to continue on that topic, or do you want to go into a little bit of competition? Friendly competition.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, there's so many things with the communication on the wedding day that we could get very specific and get very down and dirty, but I think these are good ideas, and just keeping it light and together. But for competition, I just wanted to bring up, I'll let Andrea start with this, a little bit of thoughts on staying positive in competition and how it's not a negative thing. And again, these are like where vendors sometimes collide, and how to keep things positive.
Yeah, I think we've all heard there's enough piece of a pie for everyone. And I think that's exactly it. I mean, we're all each other's competition, in our own specialties. But I think we have our own niches too. like personally, I don't go after like the luxury weddings, you know, but other people do. That's just not my client, you know. So I think it's knowing your client and not being just overly competitive or take offense, because some people are easily offended too, and I don't think that's the right attitude to have either. And also I think it's important, in my opinion, to be more community minded than competition, because I'm the type of person where if I'm booked already, I'm thinking, okay, what other planners can I reach out to refer this person to? Or if I don't think that we're a good fit, who do I know that could be? I've gotten plenty of referrals from other planners, and I've given plenty of referrals also. So, and I leave it for the client to make that decision of if they want to take my referral or if they want to go and find, you know, someone else on their own. So, and I personally, I always make myself available to help other vendors, even other planners, because I know how important it is to have an assistant, you know, on the day of, if the person you normally use isn't available. So I'm like, hey, I'm here, I'm available, I can help, you know, wherever you need, and not just planners, but other vendors too, with setup, tear down, whatever, you know, they need. So I think that community over competition is so important, and no man is an island, you know. I think just to stick to, because in our area, Columbus is big, but it's also small as well. And people do talk. And sometimes you don't want to be the person where your bad reputation precedes you, because then you're not going to be getting those referrals. You're not going to have people that want to work with you if, you know, you have a yucky personality also. So I think just being friendly and making yourself available, you know, to help others or to give advice. I know, Jamie, you always make it a point to say, hey, I'm here, I'm available, I've been in the industry for X amount of years, what can I do to help? You know, and I love helping other vendors as well. And I think to want respect, you have to give respect as well. I think that's very important. You can't expect to receive it if you're not personally giving it either.
100%.
So I think it's definitely a two-way street, whether you've been in the industry for 20 years or whether you're just starting out. I think you should be trying to play nice with everyone, to be honest with you, because you never know how that can help you in the future.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so you know, giving those referrals to your competition is helping twice. It's helping that client and they're so thankful for that referral, and they'll remember that you helped them, because that's all we're doing is being helpful. So referrals are great. I can't imagine a vendor, I'm sure it happens that, you know, oh, I'm sorry, we're booked, and that's the end of it. And it's like, oh, what amazing opportunities that you're missing out on, you know what I mean? And you never know when that could come back, and they have a daughter and they're trying you again to see if you're available, which has happened to me. So just off of, oh, you were so helpful, and that can definitely bring you business. But that competition, learning who your competition is, and you know, what's the saying? Keep your
friends close and your enemies closer.
I would never say enemies. I never say enemies, frenemies.
It's a different market, definitely, when it comes to the DJ world, because a lot of DJs have egos, and then they have their own. There are people in the middle of the road like myself that, if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you, kind of thing. And I'm looking to put guys to work and so forth. But there's some guys out there, even though they're great, I know they're great, a lot of them will set the precedent. I only go out for this amount of money, or I only do this, and that's great. That may not be, if I've got this, I hate to say, a low budget bride or somebody that doesn't have the kind of money that you're asking for, then that's a business you'll miss out on, kind of thing. But it's kind of tough sometimes. It's a close-knit circle in Columbus in the DJ world. I'll tell you that straight up. It's just like in the wedding area, it's like you said, it's small but large. So everybody has an idea of who's doing what. Not everybody, you know, there are certain people you trust, certain people you don't, and it's not saying that I'll say this: all the guys I've sent out to do work, even if they don't work for me anymore, know how to DJ. That's not the question. It's when they get sent out underneath your brand, if they're handing out their own business cards to take away from, biting the hand that feeds you is what happens. Unless it's a direct referral, then it doesn't matter. But
right. That's just etiquette. We'll have to do a whole one on etiquette for sure.
But I have seen that. I have seen vendors or people work for other businesses under their brand, and they're promoting their own business. It's like they're trying to poach away business. And I don't know if they see it that way. Maybe they're seeing it as, well, if they don't book, they're not going to book here anyway, so I'll just give them another option. But again, yeah, we can talk about that on etiquette, but I have seen that, and that is disrespectful. I mean, when we're talking about respect, that's disrespectful, and that is not community over competition. That is just full on competition at that point. Yeah. And it does not make you look, and actually it makes you look awful, and it kind of makes your company that you're working for looks awful. So you're disrespecting in so many ways at that point.
I have seen that too. It is sad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, it's just bad business. And sometimes the owner doesn't know, but that's why you should always check up on your people.
Well, if somebody's doing that within your business, then you have to ask the question, what are we not doing to retain this person for the business? Because if it, a lot of times what happens when you grow a business, like a case point, when I was working for the McDonald's Corporation, we'd be hiring all these kids and so forth. When you start calling on the same few people, because they always say yes, sooner or later you're going to lose them because you're overworking them or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't, like for instance, when you do put somebody to work, how are you rewarding them when they're doing an excellent job? Are you just making that assumption? The thing that we all need to keep in mind as we are not as just vendors working with each other, but people that work with us that are part of our own team that we pay, that we've done everything in our power to make sure that they could be successful and not have the idea, well, I'm going to try to get work out of this, but it's respect, and it's also enthusiasm. How do you get them to take ownership in what you do?
Yeah.
So they further the brand, but also in the same time, you retain them, and then therefore you have that commonality to work even when one of my guys or one of my girls, whatever, works with somebody else, that they can say, oh, wow, that their team's really succinct. They really they're fun to work with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something that Andrea, you mentioned about helping others. We talk about, I think there's this stigma, and Dave, you mentioned this earlier too, there's a stigma of, oh, well, they're new in the industry. Like, you instantly go to this, I don't trust you, you don't know what you're doing. Like, what are you doing here? I'm just going to say it, like, we have to stop that as well. I've known several people who have just entered into this industry just on a whim, and they hit the ground running. They worked hard. They did a great job and do a better job than some others in their space. And we judge them before we even let see what they do.
Yeah, you don't even know.
Yeah. And I think it's human nature, but I think just as our community we really need to step back and say, okay, well, let's see this person in action, just like I would with anybody. Dave, if I've never seen you work before, I don't care how long you've been in business. I should take a step back and look at you and watch you and get to know you. And years in business will just be something that, is part of that, but it doesn't define you necessarily right off the bat when we meet. So yeah, I wanted to call that out because I do think that that's something that we could all get better at.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I like what you just said, because it comes back to what I've always said, especially in the world of entertainment, which is what we are. We are an entertainment. We're like the five senses is the way I'm approaching weddings nowadays. And that is touch, feel, taste, it's all of that. And it doesn't matter how many years you have, just like what you just said. It's what we do in the moment. We only have one night to get it right.
Mhm.
We have all these people captivated, and how did we make sure they had a great time? And that it's all of us, really. You know, you don't think of if you think about it, I'm your customer, you're my customer, kind of thing, because that's where we're at. We're all helping each other make sure things go well. But yeah, I really love what you said there, Michelle. That kind of went that goes really well with the idea.
Mhm.
And
And I
something
think,
else. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just saying something else that came to mind is, you know, how we mentioned how we treat each other on the wedding day, and if anybody mistreats somebody poorly, you're never going to get business from that vendor either. And we have the power of repeat, unlike of course the clients have the power of the reviews, right? But we have the power of the repeat because we are in this business, and we should all want to impress each other as well. So as we're impressing each other, we can get referrals from those people, because the more people that talk good about us, the better it brings our companies and us up.
Well, even if you're not the most experienced, even if you're not like, you don't know everything, like be nice. Be
Come on.
I mean, there are people who, I have worked with in the past who are just very like standoffish, and it's what I'm going to come to you humbled. I know I'm a planner. I know that ideally I should know every little thing about everything, but it does come with experience too. As we all know, everything does. And I'm going to say something stupid. I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't have said, and I should have known, but I just didn't. And
Human.
I know, like, but then they're just like, oh well, she knows nothing, and then you're kind of treated poorly all night, and you're just like, come on, I'm human too. We're all human here. Be nice and humble about things. And I know that I will refer people who are humble and who accept their mistakes and work on it and take the feedback and are just generally, try to work as a team. That's a huge piece of this, right? They want to work as a team. I will refer that person every day over someone who is mean to me, but knows every little thing like the back of their hand. I would.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, it helps the wedding community as a whole. Like if you see someone that might need a little help, or, they didn't handle a situation properly or something, whatever it is, be that person that can say, hey, I just wanted to give you a little bit of advice, or in my experience, this is how I handled a certain situation or whatever. And then that not only elevates them, but it also elevates you, and then the wedding community as a whole also, I feel.
Yeah. I'm like writing all these titles. I'm like, employees, team players. These are going to be all great topics for future, because team player is another great topic of how I've seen vendors just not even do what they, do, help other people doing their jobs, which is fabulous. But
the one thing that I have our guys do at the end of every night is to tell on themselves an end of night report on our messenger. And we do it not because I'm calling anybody out, but because sometimes they mention something we didn't know about the venue, or maybe they're telling us something without realizing is they need some help, maybe with their announcements, or maybe with the way they plan their time, things like that. I think the review at the end of the night, and wouldn't it be cool as if these telemarketers would stop calling me? Wouldn't it be cool as if we had a way to reach back out to one another like the day after to kind of do a review of how well things went?
I think that's super cool. I was telling Michelle that I really would love after our weddings to email all of the wedding team to say, hey, it was a pleasure working with you. I would love any feedback you have, good or bad. It's very important, as I may have been doing this forever, but we're always learning. And maybe if you hurt somebody's feelings or something, this gives them an opportunity to say, you know what, I enjoyed working with you, but I hated that you took my couple away from the sunset photo because the food was going to be cold. I don't know, whatever it was, but it gives you an opportunity to open a line of communication, to keep that communication. And it's truly, we do want to keep, bettering ourselves. So I love that idea, Dave.
I love that you're doing that with you, Dave, for sure.
Yeah.
What's funny is the guys aren't talking about the people they're working with per se. They're talking about the behavior, not the personality. And I think a lot of times in our business, what happens is at the end of the night, I've got the bride and groom coming up and give me a hug and they're saying how much fun they had. Or they're telling me, like, they never tell me if I've done a bad job per se, but they will tell the couple will always tell the one vendor they trust if something wasn't the way they really wanted it. And then, what do you do with that? Do you tell the other vendor, hey, do you know this happened? Maybe there's something I do and not realize it at every event, that if I didn't do it, I would be getting a better response.
Yes.
It's
one of the things I when I first started that I used to do was email or talk to that person if there was time at the end of the night, talk to the other vendors. Hey, do you have any feedback for me? You've been doing this for a lot longer than I have, based on your opinion, is there anything that I could do better? What did I do right? What about the communication process in the beginning before the wedding, just asking for that feedback, because that's how I got better. That's how I can improve to get better. And I've kind of admittedly slacked off of doing that, but I'm going to start doing it again because I haven't arrived by any means. And I think we can all learn something from each other just by doing that. So thank you, Jamie and Dave, for bringing that up again, because that's a reminder for me. Oh, I need to start doing that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So many good conversations. So I want to keep in mind the time, and I want to sum this up about the last part was competition, and how competition can actually be very good for each of us. It helps keep us on our toes. It helps us better our business. I wouldn't be doing half of the things I do if I hadn't seen my competition do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're doing this. I've got to do this. I've got to do it. But you put your own way on it, because nobody will be me. Nobody's going to be you. Nobody, we might have the same jobs, but we can't be the same. There's just no way. So competition is good, and keep it friendly and keep it fun. So any last thoughts for everybody before we close?
No, just a reminder, be humble, take feedback, help others, whether that's physical help or giving them advice. Know that everybody starts at a different place. Everybody's at a different place in their life, in their career, and we should all take that into consideration. And we need to elevate each other, as it will elevate our industry. It's basically a summation of what we talked about today.
Amen. This we zen out. This is great. No, so thanks so much, you guys, for all being a part of our first episode, and Dave bringing us the idea and hanging with us all the way through. And we'll be here month after month and doing this, and maybe we'll add more. Like, who knows? I'm gonna leave it up.
We'll be syndicated soon.
Oh yeah, maybe. We'll leave it up to our industry and see what they want, and we'll just kind of take it from there. But we'll post this out on the Devoted Pros Facebook page. We'll share it to the group. And then if you guys want to if anybody wants to be a part of our future episodes or have ideas or topics, join us, and we'll make sure that you're on board with us and you're on the Zoom link. We'll send you the Zoom link and you can just be on. So until next, what month are we in? May. Till June. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.